Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. These are the stories of those who have received, given, and who are waiting for the gift of life, organ transplantation. Now here's your host and heart and kidney recipient, BJ Odom.
Welcome to the Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast, where we explore the extraordinary world of organ transplantation. Each week we share inspiring stories and introduce you to remarkable individuals sharing their own transplant stories. Be sure to support the podcast by leaving a 5-star review and subscribing on your preferred podcast platform. Have a transplant story to share or have comments about the podcast? Love to hear from you. Email us, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to connect with us on Facebook, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. This is BJ Odom, the guy with more parts than a chicken nugget. My new memoir packed with laughs, heart, and the unbelievable true story of survival you've heard me talk about right here on the Gift of Life Podcast. Get yours today, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget, available on Amazon. As we welcome you to episode 111. Today, you're going to hear an incredible story of strength, faith, and survival. Our guest, Robbie Knutson, faced the fight of his life with serious health challenges that led him down the road to a double lung transplant. What followed was a journey filled with uncertainty, determination, and ultimately a priceless gift of a second chance at life. Robbie's story is powerful, reminder of how important organ donation truly is and how hope can carry us through even the darkest moments. Thank you for joining us as we'll share this great story with Robbie coming up next.
Well, my name is Robbie Knutson. I'm a 60-year-old, and I live in the plains here in South Dakota. I'm originally from New Mexico, but my family is from Washington Springs, South Dakota. So here I am. That's where I came back to where I came from. So I moved up here. Well, first off, my mother, she had emphysema. She passed away when she was 49. And then I had it. I knew I was going to get it, but I just lived my life the best I could. And I'd say when I was 16, I started having trouble breathing. I could tell something was the matter. And I just went about my life. Of course, I did things I shouldn't do and smoked and this and that. And it didn't help, but it just kept getting worse. And it got to where definitely I couldn't run. I couldn't do any physical stuff, except work. I had to work. And then I moved up here and I could breathe, because of elevation. And that was great. I could ride a bike. I could walk. I could run a little bit. And then it started getting worse. I was at work one day and I was like, man, I can't make it across the shop. So they told me, yeah, you got to go to the doctor. We can't have you here working here like that. So I went to the doctor and they diagnosed me with emphysema in 2012. I got diagnosed. And then I just keep going. I'll just keep going. Then they told me, well, if you can't work anymore, you're going to have to go to a doctor. And then he told me, well, yeah, if you work, you're going to die. So you got two choices. You can either stop working and live or work and die. I said, well, I got to work. And he said, well, no, we're going to put you on disability. I got on disability. So then there I was. I couldn't do anything. It was all I could do to dump the trash. It was all I could do to take a shower. It was really rough. My life was pretty limited to a sedentary life. I was 46 years old. And that was pretty rough. So I just made a determination that I was going to keep pushing and live my life the best I could. I never had no idea that of a transplant. I never thought that would happen. It wasn't going to happen for me. And so I kept getting sicker, and I'd have aspirations. I had numerous aspirations. I was at the hospital for weekly, like twice a week at least. And they told me finally, they says, "Well, there's nothing more we can do for you, Rob." So they sent me to a specialist. And I was already, before this happened, I was ready to. I knew I was going to die. That's all there was to it, because I had a 13% lung function, and it was going down quickly. So my doctor says, "Yep, there's things we can do for you if you want to do them." And I said, "Well, let's do them. I'm willing to do whatever I have to." So he sent me a referral to Mayo Clinic. And the first time I'd seen this doctor was 13 years ago. And then now he was going to send me to Mayo Clinic to get an evaluation for a Zephyr valve.
Now, what is it? What is a Zephyr valve, I may ask?
A Zephyr valve is like my lungs, so all my valvulas or them sacs, they're all blurred up. So my lungs, they trap air. So they put that valve in there, and they close off the bad part of the lung, and then you breathe through that valve. Because my lungs were shot. Mm-hmm. They had very, very little air sacs left in them. And then I would breathe through that valve, in my lung. But they told me I was too far gone for that. So that didn't work. So they says, "We think you're a good candidate for a lung transplant, a double lung transplant." And I said, "Really? Are you serious?" And they said, "Yes. Can you stay a couple more days?" And I said, "Yeah." So they did a couple more tests, and then they told me, "Okay, yeah, come back in 2 weeks, and we'll give you a workup for a lung transplant."
Now, I just couldn't believe it. Now, what did you think when they told you that you were going to need a transplant? What was going through your mind, or what were you thinking about?
I was thinking about, wow, I got another chance at life, because this means that I'll be able to breathe and without oxygen. I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. I did something that I never thought would happen. I wasn't even in my mind. And it was just so freeing. It gave me hope. I was like, yeah, I can't believe this. And it was the awesomest thing that ever has happened to me. So they give me the evaluation, and they told me, "Well, okay, we'll see you in 3 months, to do another workup. But you're on the list. You're on the list." I got on the list. It took me 2.5 weeks, and then I was on the list. So then they told me, "Come back in 3 months," and I said, "Okay." And they said, "And be ready. We can call anytime. So have your bag packed and ready to go." So I came home. I told my caregiver, I said, "Yep." They said, "Be back in 3 months." So we got 3 months, but we got to be ready anytime. Sure enough, 46 days later, they called. And this so happened to be my caregiver was here. And they called and they says, "Yeah, we got lungs for you. You want them?" I said, "I'll be right there."
Yeah, who's going to say, "No, I don't want them"? Yeah.
Right, for my caregiver, I says, "Hey, we got to go. We got 5 hours to be there." And she said, "Well, they said they were going to call you for 3 months." I said, "They called today." And they said, "Get here in 5 hours." So we got to go. And we were on the road and took off and got there. And I sat there, cool as a cucumber, because I knew, hey, this is it. It's happening. I went through all I went through, and I have faith. I kept that faith alive, and that's what got me through it. So he told me, he says, okay, it's your time, Rob. Let's go. And I sat there calm as a cucumber on the step outside the emergency room, waiting for him to call me in there to get prepped. And I was like, okay, let's do it. I walked in there, took my shower, all that stuff, and waited in the waiting room for about 4 or 5 hours. And then they said, okay, let's go. It's time. And they took me down. And into the operating room I went. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I had a heart and a kidney transplant. What was the recovery time like with a lung transplant? I mean, how soon before you were feeling, because, you hadn't gotten oxygen really for quite some time. How did you feel like when you woke up after the surgery?
Yeah. When I woke up after the surgery, I was like, oh my gosh, I can breathe. Man, I just was exhilarated. I was like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, everybody. And I just kept going on and on. And I was like, I could breathe so well. I never been able to breathe like I could breathe in and breathe out. It was like awesome. I felt like the $6 million man. I really did. And I just kept telling him, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Can I get up? Can I get up? And he says, hold on. I said, I got to get up. I got to get out of this bed. They said, we'll get to that. So within like 6 hours, I was walking after they deintubated me. Well, after they deintubated me, actually, I was walking. I got up and I moved. I was walking. I walked around the bed and then I sat back down. And it was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. And then, my caregiver says, is he okay? I just had to say it. My caregiver says, is he going to be okay? And they said, well, yeah, he just had a lung transplant, but looks like he's going to be fine. She says, well, I gotta go. I'll be back. And she didn't come back.
She didn't come back?
She didn't come back. And the doctors are like, well, where's your caregiver? When's she coming back? I says, she's supposed to be here today or tonight. She's supposed to be here tonight. And they're saying, well, yeah, we better be here so she can watch the films to learn how to take care of you, change your bandages and all that. And I kept calling her. She didn't come. And then by this time, delirium started setting in. I got delirium. And
now, what's that?
Delirium is where, from the medication, I had reactions to it, and it made me like out of my head.
Oh, okay, hallucinations and things like that. Yeah, okay.
And I thought I was at home, and all this kind of stuff. And they came in. They says, "How you doing, Mr. Knutson?" I said, "I'm fine, but why are you guys here? Well, don't you know where you're at?" I says, "Well, yeah, I'm at home." He says, "No, you're not at home. You're in Rochester, Minnesota. You just got a double lung transplant." I says, "Are you kidding me?"
Now, how long did it take for you to? I mean, this has got to be a little. I've never heard a story like this. So, what happened if you didn't have a caregiver? Did they find someone for you, or how did everything work out?
Yeah, it was pretty hectic. Then I had the delirium, so that didn't help matters. I was by myself in the hospital, and the nurses and the doctors, they are the ones who kept care of me in Mayo Clinic, Rochester, Minnesota. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have made it through it, because as I said, I had no caregiver. So they were my caregivers, until I was able, that they knew that I could take care of myself, But now in this delirium, that delirium lasted about 7 to 8 days, and it was scary. I had a babysitter, right there out the door because I tried to leave, with my bag, with my boxes and my walker. I was headed out the door. I was going to leave because I thought they were going to kill me. Delirium is no fun. I mean, it's
I can only imagine.
It's scary. And so I was calling everybody in the book, my sister, my ex-girlfriend. It got down to where I even called the sheriff, my local sheriff. And I told her, hey, can you help me? Can you get me out of here? She says, well, what's the matter? I said, well, they're trying to kill me. They're going to kill me. I thought they were going to kill me. And that was just the delirium. And she says, no, you're fine. Talk to the nurses. You'll be fine. I said, well, that's who's going to do it, And so then nobody would answer their phone after that.
They had your number, huh? They said,
oh, we're not. Don't answer it because he's in delirium. It was, and finally it got over with. It took a long time, like I say, 7 to 8 days, and it was Christmas time, So the doctors told me, well, you're gonna have to stay here. You're gonna be here Christmas because you can't leave yet because you have delirium, and I was ready to go. My bag was packed, everything. I was ready to go. They said, no, you're gonna have to stay here.
So how long were you in the hospital there in Rochester then?
I was in the hospital from December 14th to January 19th.
So a little over a month then.
Yeah, 46, I think 46 days or 28 days, or I can't remember. I waited 46 days for my lungs. And then I was in the hospital 28 days, I think it was.
Now, when it was time to go home, who did you have as a caregiver, or were you kind of on your own? Because
I was on my own. I was on my own. I was right across the street from Mayo Clinic for 3 months at the motel.
Okay.
Because it's 25 steps from my motel to Mayo Clinic front door. So then I could just go to my appointments every day, walk across the street, and go to my appointments. And of course, they didn't let me leave the hospital to go to that motel until they knew I could do everything I needed to do. They had a little room where like an apartment at the hospital, a room where they have a stove, they have a wash machine, they have everything just to make sure you can do everything.
Okay.
So they gave me that test, and I passed, so they let me go.
So you were in Rochester though for 3 months just so you could have your follow-up visits and everything else.
Yeah, sure. I was in Rochester for 3 months. And another ironic thing, if I could tell you this, is I was a premature baby. So I was born in December, and I didn't get out of the hospital till March, when I was born. Now, when I got my transplant in December, and I didn't come home till March. That's kind of
funny how the world treats us every once in a while to a little practical joke like that.
Yeah, my second life, my second new life, I started on the same days, on the same dates, months.
And what year was that you got your transplant in December? What year was that?
December 2023.
Okay. And how have you been doing since the transplant and getting back home and everything?
I've been doing excellent. Thanks to Mason, which he's inside me, my second chance at life, the young man who gave me the chance at life again with his wonderful lungs. He's inside me right now. We do a lot of things. Like I always say, I used to tell my cousin, tell me, how you doing? I said, well, I need a new intake, which was, I need new lungs. So now I tell them, I say, yeah, I got 2 new turbos. You know what I mean? Yeah. My lungs are like turbos.
Now, you know
They're
Mason.
awesome.
Now, you know Mason by name. So obviously, have you met the family, or have you just talked to them, or let's learn the story about Mason and your relationship with the family.
Okay. Now I knew Mason because they sent me a letter. I knew his name, and I knew his mother's name. His mother's Jean, and his father is John. They sent me a letter. They told me, yeah, live the best life you can and enjoy your new life. Don't feel bad. And so I put on a post I seen on Life Source on Facebook. They had a post, and it says, what kind of transplant did you have? And I told them, I got a double lung transplant in 2023, and I'm so grateful for my donor, Mason, who gave me that chance. And I prayed for his family. And about 2 minutes later, ding, I got a ding on there, and somebody says, hey, I think we got something in common. Would you want to PM me? And I looked at the name, and I thought, well, that's kind of weird, And I looked at the name, and it was Mason's mom. She asked me, are you Mason's recipient? I said, yes, I am. And so we talked every day, and I met her. I met his whole family at a walk. It's called Strides for Second Chances in Fargo, North Dakota. We went, and I met his whole family at that walk. And it was great. They had a thing on TV about us, and it was wonderful. The most wonderful thing I ever experienced.
Yeah. What is the relationship like? Because I've known people that have met the families, and they've become almost like second families to their donor families. How has that relationship been with you?
Exactly. We talk every day. Every morning we talk, and every night, and in between the day too. I've only seen her once. I've only met her once, but we talk every day. We send videos. She sent me videos of her, and I send them videos of what I'm doing. It's just a wonderful thing. Because that's what I do is, I live because of Mason, and then I live for him and for them, to show them how I appreciate it so much that, I tell him, we do a lot of things together, and I always say, let's go, Mason, because that's what he used to say. He lives like somebody left the gate open. So I tell him, that's what I say, let's go, Mason, the gate's open, and we take off and we go.
That is truly awesome.
It is.
Yeah, because I've never met, because both of my kidney and my heart were both from deceased donors. And I wrote my letter, which is a very tough letter to write, but I never, received any correspondence back from either one. So, and I think it would be, just amazing to meet the family and to know about, the donor and know what he did in life and things like that. So congratulations there.
And the one of the neatest things is his niece was there, and she was like a year and a half old, and she just looked at me like if she knew or something that I had Mason's lungs. It was just ironic because she would just look at me like she's looking at her uncle.
Cool.
It was just awesome. It was just awesome. And then again, I have this thing where, because I was in the hospital a long time, so I did a lot of walking. And if I see somebody walking fast, I'd catch him and pass him. That was my therapy. So that's what I do. And so on that walk we went to, I had a shirt. I put "Let's Go Mason" on the front. And I thought, well, if I put it on the front, they're gonna be able to see it. So I had to make another one. I put it on the back, because I want to be passing people, and they ain't gonna be able to see if it's in front. So I put it on the back. And then here I am passing people, and pretty soon I hear these people saying, "We're gonna pass you." we're going to pass you. So I take off running. so they could pass me.
Would you get people too saying, "Go Mason"?
Yeah, I had some people to do that, and see, that's what they tell me on our group. Let's go, Mason, Robbie Mason, let's go, because that's what I say, and that's my motto, And I tell them, come on, let's go. The gate's open. Let's go live it up. And we do.
So we're going on 3 years now with your double lung transplant. And you say, think life is going pretty well. I know a lot of people with transplants may get a bump in the road here or there. How has, the first 2.5 years went for you, or 3.5? I can't. How has that went?
I had a heart murmur before, and my heart rate was always messed up. I mean, high and low sound like a chainsaw, and then it go down. Anyhow, I have a heart murmur, but I had that before, So that's the only thing that has happened. And I got pneumonia one time.
After the transplant? Yeah, how was that? That had to be pretty rough on some new lungs and going into pneumonia.
Actually, it wasn't bad. They caught it early. So, it was, I still did 4 miles. See, I walked 4 miles a day, and exercise. And I did that in the hospital where I had pneumonia. I still walk my 4 miles.
Oh, wow. You're a rock star there.
the doctor told me, yeah. Well, thank you. And we are, yeah. Because of Mason, we are a rock star. And I live like that because I have that chance, and I don't waste any minute of it, and I take care of my lungs too. I'm very, very cautious of it. I'm 2.5, almost 3 years out. I still wear a mask. Not everywhere, but if it's out, I wear a mask. If I go in the store, Walmart or whatever, I wear a mask. Because I'm immune compromised, and I'm not going to take a chance.
Yeah, that was kind of funny when COVID hit. Of course, COVID hit after you had your transplant, but I had mine in 2003. So when, COVID hit and people were wearing masks and people were saying, wash your hands and use hand sanitizer, I said, I've been doing that for the last 20 years. You're not telling me anything new that I haven't already been doing.
Exactly. Yep. And that's just, I learned that way. I was clean before, but I'm cleaner now, even, Yeah,
they teach you well there in the hospital how to, keep yourself away from the germs and to stay healthy. And I'm so glad you're staying healthy.
Because, fungus is not my friend, And as that saying goes, fungus among us, you know what I mean? Fungus is everywhere.
Well, anything in your story we may have missed, or something we didn't ask you that you would like to mention here on the podcast today?
Well, I'd like to mention that I haven't tried it. I ain't going to, but the caregivers, they're so valuable. I don't think people really understand how important they are, and the people who care for the patients who are in the hospital waiting for transplant, because it's such a great thing to have people on your side. It makes it so much easier. Yeah. And then people are more valuable than they'll ever know. And that's why I always like to say to people, God bless your caregiver, and be kind to your caregiver. Because without them, your life would be heck.
Now, have you ever come in contact with was going to be your caregiver who never showed up at the hospital, or has that person left your life forever now?
Who left me? Yeah, she lived right down the road from me. In fact, see, I live in a town of 999 people, and the city limit signs are half a mile between. So I see her. Yeah.
Did you ever? I guess you moved on, but I was going to say, did you ever say, why didn't you ever come get me?
Well, there's a funny story to that too, if I can tell you. It's nothing bad. I was at Mayo Clinic getting a checkup, and I got a text, and it was from her. And she showed me a picture with the table that goes where they put your tray on for your food,
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of them hospital tables with a Mayo Clinic cup on it. And I thought, are you at Mayo Clinic? I asked her, and she says, yep, I'm getting released today. How about you? Are you going home today? I said, well, I think they're going to keep me another day. I might have to stay another day. She wanted to ride home. I told her, I said, well, I think you have to find somebody else to give you a ride because I think they're gonna keep me another day. I'm going to be late, So I didn't give her a ride home.
Oh, as they say, paybacks are you know what?
Yeah. And then guess what? When I'm on the way home, I see her vehicle. So I just gave it the gas and got in the fast lane and passed her.
Well, I tell you what, I wish you the very best of luck, and sounds like you're living an awesome life, which is, that you probably wouldn't have had without this transplant. And you're doing better than you have in a long time. So I salute you, sir.
Thank you, BJ. And that is, I'm doing better than I ever have. I literally,
And I think, like you said, you were kind of born into this. And so you got out of breath early, even in your life. And so your normal was not having so much oxygen and so much energy. Just like myself, I was, as a small child, had heart problems at birth. So when I got that heart transplant, like you, I felt like the $1 million man. It's like a lot of people, this hits them in the middle of life when they've led a very athletic or strong life. And people like you and I who have dealt with this all of our lives, once we get that organ, it's a whole new ball game for us.
Right. Now, I'd like to say one other thing. See, you've had it all your life. Me too. See, I was a premature too. I weighed 3 pounds, 3 ounces, and I was in the incubator for 3 months. Yeah. But I'm very grateful and I feel very blessed, because by faith and the grace, here I am, and you too. And I appreciate what you do too. And, life is wonderful. And some people say sometimes, it's not all that great. I say, you know what? It takes me a minute in the day to take my pills. And then I'm out the door.
Yep.
No problem. It's great.
Living life the way it was meant to live.
Without organ donation, none of this would be possible. So, this I and you, me and you both we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for an organ donor. So that's what I tell everybody all the time is how important it is to be an organ donor. You can save so many people's lives and make such a difference in a life. I'm a living example of it.
Thank you so much, Robbie, for sharing your incredible story with us today on the Gift of Life podcast. And be sure to join us each week for a new heartfelt episode. And if you have a transplant story, please email us, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to like and share this episode with family and friends. And we would appreciate that 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Reminder, my memoir, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget, isn't just a medical story. It's a survival story filled with humor, hope, and heart. It'll make you laugh, maybe cry, but definitely believe in second chances. Get yours now, available on Amazon. More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget. Another podcast you might enjoy is myself and former radio partner Bill Stevens. BJ and Bill, the podcast, all on the Podcast Playground Network. We want to thank them for making this podcast possible. Until next time, I'm BJ Odom. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey and reminding us all to appreciate each and every day and to treasure the extraordinary gift of life.